Hi, I'm Leia. Most people say I have my mother's smile, which always makes me laugh because I'm adopted. My parents brought me home when I was 3 months old, and they've loved me completely ever since. My sister Melissa, on the other hand, has spent the last 28 years reminding me that I don't quite belong. You're going to Mom and Dad's anniversary dinner, right? My friend James asked as we finished our coffee. His dark eyes searched my face, clearly detecting my hesitation. I don't know. Melissa's organizing it, and you know how she gets, I said, tracing the rim of my mug. Come on, Lay. It's their 30th anniversary. Your parents would be heartbroken if you weren't there. You're right, I'll go. But I'm bringing pepper spray in case Melissa tries something, I joked, though part of me wasn't entirely kidding. James laughed. That's the spirit. Besides, how bad could it be? The answer, as it turned out, was catastrophically bad. 2 days later, I arrived at Le Chateau, the most expensive restaurant in the city. My parents beamed when they saw me, and even my younger brother Morgan seemed pleased I'd made it. There's our girl, Dad said, pulling me into a hug that smelled of his familiar cologne. Leia, sweetheart, I'm so glad you came, Mom whispered, squeezing my hand. Melissa arrived last, dressed in a gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her smile tightened when she saw me. Oh, you made it, she said flatly. I wasn't sure if you'd come. Wouldn't miss it, I replied, forcing a smile. Mom and Dad deserve a perfect celebration. Dinner started pleasantly enough. We shared stories about my parents' marriage, laughed at old family jokes, and for a moment, I forgot about the tension between Melissa and me. Then came the toasts. To Mom and Dad, Morgan said, raising his glass. Thank you for teaching us what real love looks like. To 30 more years, I added, smiling at my parents. Melissa stood, smoothing her dress. To the two people who showed me what family really means, blood and all. She looked directly at me as she emphasized the word blood, and I felt my cheeks burn. After dessert, Melissa clinked her glass. I have an announcement. I've arranged for a special performance for Mom and Dad. On cue, a string quartet appeared, playing my parents' wedding song. They were visibly touched, and I felt a twinge of jealousy at Melissa's grand gesture. That was lovely, Melissa, Mom said, wiping away a tear. Nothing but the best for my real parents, Melissa replied, again glancing my way. When the performance ended, my father asked for the check. Oh, I've already arranged payment, Melissa said smoothly. My parents thanked her profusely, and we all began gathering our things to leave. As I reached for my coat, a waiter approached me. Excuse me, Miss Warner? Your sister said you'd be handling the bill. He handed me a leather folder. Inside was a receipt for $3,250. There must be some mistake, I stammered. My sister said she was paying. The waiter looked uncomfortable. She specifically instructed us to give the bill to you after everyone left. She said it was arranged between you. My hands shook as I looked up to see Melissa by the door, watching me with a small smile. Is there a problem, Leia? She called loudly enough for our parents to hear. Can't afford your share? Maybe you should go find another table, one more suited to your background. My parents looked confused, but before they could intervene, Melissa ushered them out with promises of showing them photos from their honeymoon she'd compiled. Morgan lingered behind, his face troubled. What did she do now? I showed him the bill. $3,000? That's insane, he exclaimed. Why would she? Because she's Melissa, I said, fighting back tears. And I'm just the girl who found a seat at your family's table. Morgan's expression darkened. That's not true, and you know it. Let me help you pay this. I shook my head. No, but I think it's time someone taught Melissa about the real price of family. She did what? James nearly shouted, causing several cafe patrons to turn our way. I slid the receipt across the table, stuck me with a $3,250 bill, and told me to find another table in front of everyone. That's beyond cruel, Lay, James said, examining the receipt. This is actual fraud. She told the restaurant you would pay when she had no authority to do that. It gets worse, I said, pulling out my phone. I checked my credit card statement this morning. She's been using my card for months. James's eyes widened. How is that possible? Remember when she helped me set up my online banking last year? I think she saved my information. That's identity theft, Leia. You need to report this. I sighed. It's my sister, James, who just publicly humiliated you about being adopted and fraudulently charged you thousands of dollars, he pointed out. Blood doesn't excuse that. I'm not even her blood, remember? I said bitterly. Have you told your parents? I shook my head. Melissa's their golden child. They'd just make excuses for her. What about Morgan? James asked. He seemed upset at the restaurant. That's my next stop, I replied, gathering my things. He texted me this morning saying he needs to talk. An hour later, I sat across from Morgan in his cluttered apartment. I've been thinking about what happened, he began, nervously adjusting his glasses. This isn't the first time Melissa has done something like this. I leaned forward. What do you mean? She's always been manipulative with money, but lately it's gotten worse, Morgan explained. Last month, she convinced Aunt Carol to loan her $5,000 for a business investment that doesn't exist. How do you know? Because she tried the same scam on me, he admitted, looking ashamed. I almost fell for it until I did some digging. Her business partner is actually her boyfriend, and they've been scamming family members for months. I felt a cold realization wash over me. You're saying this isn't just about being cruel to me? It's a pattern? I think it's both, Morgan said. She resents you, and she's also a con artist. Why are you telling me this now? I asked, my voice harder than I intended. Morgan flinched. Because I was afraid of her. You don't know what she's like when she's angry, Leia. She threatened to tell Dad I dropped out of grad school if I ever betrayed her. So you let her torment me instead? I was wrong, he admitted. But I want to make it right. I've been collecting evidence. He pulled out a folder filled with documents. Bank statements, text messages, emails, everything showing her scams. I flipped through the pages, my mind racing. This is a lot more than just sticking me with a dinner bill. That's why I called someone else here to talk to you, Morgan said as a knock sounded at the door. He opened it to reveal a serious-looking woman in a blazer. Leia, this is Detective Wilson. She specializes in financial crimes. Your brother contacted me about a potential fraud case, she said, extending her hand. Based on what he's told me, you may have grounds for criminal charges. Against my own sister? I asked, my stomach twisting. Family fraud is more common than you think, Detective Wilson replied, sitting down. And often more damaging because of the trust involved. I don't know if I can do that to my family, I said, feeling torn. She had no problem doing it to you, Morgan pointed out. And to all of us. Mom and Dad's retirement fund? She's been siphoning from that too. That was the moment something hardened inside me. Tell me what I need to do, I said to Detective Wilson. Are you nervous? James asked as we sat in his car outside Melissa's condo. Terrified, I admitted, but also ready. Remember, Detective Wilson said to get her talking, James reminded me. The more she admits, the stronger the case. And the recording app is ready on my phone, I confirmed, patting my pocket where the device was already recording. I'll be right here if you need me, he promised as I stepped out. Melissa looked surprised when she opened her door. Leia, what are you doing here? We need to talk, I said firmly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Her condo was immaculate and clearly expensive, possibly furnished with money stolen from our family. If this is about the dinner bill, I was just joking, Melissa said with a dismissive laugh. Can't you take a joke? $3,000 isn't a joke, I replied. Neither is identity theft or defrauding our parents' retirement fund. Her smile vanished. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Melissa. I know everything. The fake business investment using my credit card, stealing from Mom and Dad. Morgan told me everything. Morgan should learn to keep his mouth shut, she snapped, her pleasant facade crumbling. What do you want? Money? Fine, I'll pay you back for dinner. This isn't just about dinner, I said. It's about years of you treating me like I don't belong, culminating in public humiliation and theft. Melissa's eyes narrowed. You don't belong. Mom and Dad only adopted you because they felt sorry for you after I was born. You were their charity case. The words stung, but I held my ground. Is that why you've been stealing from them? Because you're so much more important? I haven't stolen anything, she protested. I've borrowed some money for investments. It'll all come back to them doubled. There are no investments, Melissa. Your boyfriend isn't a business partner. He's a con artist. And now, so are you. You have no proof of anything, she said, but I saw fear flicker in her eyes. Actually, I do, I countered, pulling out copies of the documents Morgan had collected. Bank statements, text messages, even the recording you made reminding the restaurant to give me the bill. She lunged for the papers, but I pulled them back. The originals are with the police, I added. Detective Wilson says it's enough for criminal charges. You called the police on your own sister? Melissa's voice rose in disbelief. You stole from your own sister, I replied evenly, from your entire family. It wasn't like that, she insisted, her tone suddenly softer. I've been having financial troubles, Leia. I didn't know what else to do. So you decided to humiliate me about being adopted? To tell me to find another table? Was that part of your financial troubles too? Her expression hardened again. You've always been the victim, haven't you? Poor little adopted Leia, always needing extra attention. I never asked for special attention, I said. I just wanted to be treated like family. You're not family, she shouted. You're just some random kid my parents decided to take in. And yet I'm more loyal to them than their biological daughter who's been stealing their retirement, I replied calmly. Something in her seemed to snap, her face contorted with rage. You think you're so perfect? I'll destroy you before I let you ruin me. No one will believe you over me. I'm their real daughter. Is that a threat? I asked, my heart pounding but my voice steady. It's a promise, she hissed, stepping toward me. If you go to the police with those lies, I'll make sure everyone knows what a pathetic, jealous orphan you really are. I'll make your life hell. That's enough, came a voice from the doorway. Detective Wilson stood there with James and Morgan behind her. We heard everything we needed to. Melissa's face went pale. You set me up. No, I said sadly. You set yourself up. All I did was finally stand up to you. The state calls Leia Warner to the stand. I walked forward, feeling surprisingly calm as I was sworn in. 6 months had passed since that confrontation in Melissa's condo, and now I sat in a courtroom, testifying against my own sister. Miss Warner, the prosecutor began, please tell the court about your relationship with the defendant. Melissa is my adoptive sister, I said clearly. Our parents adopted me when I was an infant. And when did you first become aware of the defendant's financial schemes? I recounted the dinner, the humiliation, and the subsequent discovery of her wider fraud. Throughout my testimony, Melissa sat stone-faced beside her attorney. After court adjourned for the day, Morgan approached me outside. You did great in there, he said. Mom and Dad are proud of you. Are they? I asked, uncertain. Our parents had been devastated when they learned the extent of Melissa's crimes. They are, he assured me. Dad said it took more courage to stand up and tell the truth than to stay quiet. It doesn't feel good, though, I admitted. None of this does. I know, Morgan sighed. But sometimes doing the right thing hurts. 3 weeks later, the verdict came in. Guilty on all counts. Melissa was sentenced to 4 years in prison and ordered to pay full restitution to all her victims, including me. As the courtroom cleared, she asked to speak with me privately, with her attorney and a court officer present. Leia, she began, her voice softer than I'd heard it in years. I want to apologize. I said nothing, just waited for her to continue. I was jealous, she admitted. Everyone always loved you so much. You were so good at everything, and I felt like I was competing for my own parents' love. So you stole from them? I asked. From me? I made mistakes, she said. Terrible ones. But we're still family, aren't we? Blood or not, we grew up together. That has to count for something. I looked at her, seeing for the first time how small she seemed without her armor of cruelty. You know what you said to me that night? About finding another table? I said quietly. You were right. I did need to find another table. One where I'm respected and valued. Leia, please. No, Melissa. You had 28 years to be my sister. You chose to be my tormentor instead. I forgive you because that's what I need to do for myself, but I don't want you in my life anymore. You can't mean that, she whispered. What about Mom and Dad? They'll always be your parents, I assured her. That won't change, but I get to choose my family now and you're not part of it. Later that evening, I met James and Morgan for dinner at a small restaurant near my apartment. To justice, James toasted, raising his glass. And to family, Morgan added. The real kind. I smiled, looking at the two people who had stood by me through everything. You know what I learned from all this? I asked. What's that? James leaned forward. That family isn't about sharing a table or even sharing blood, I said. It's about who stays standing beside you when the bill comes due. Morgan laughed. That was unexpectedly profound. I have my moments, I replied, grinning. So what's next for you? James asked. Now that this chapter is closed? I considered the question. The past year had transformed me in ways I never expected. I was stronger now, more confident in who I was and what I deserved. I'm thinking about starting a support group for victims of family financial abuse, I said. Detective Wilson says it's more common than people realize, and most victims stay silent out of shame or loyalty. That sounds perfect for you, Morgan said warmly. As we continued our meal, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. Melissa had tried to make me feel like an outsider at a table where I didn't belong. Instead, she had freed me to create my own table, one built on respect, honesty, and real love. What about you? Have you ever had to redefine what family means to you? Sometimes the most difficult boundaries to set are with the people we're supposed to love unconditionally. But as I learned, real love shouldn't come with a price tag of $3,250 or your self-respect.